Last time on Corpse Party Blood Drive. That is a lot of dead people! I'll take that. All the spells written in the book are nothing more than theories. So you were just using me after all? Yeah, fucking duh! Whoa! What's happening in your stomach? No! I'm responsible for so much pain and loss of life, yet only I get to be saved? Sachiko saved us. When and how did she possess us? I am confused. Greetings, my beautiful viewers. I am the Hunter of Comedy, and welcome back to Corpse Party Blood Drive. So last time everything went to shit. Ayumi, got all the demon pillars, realized that Mizuto had betrayed her, and she was the only one to survive as Heavenly Host was completely torn down, and she was the only one to survive thanks to Sachiko Shinozaki, possessing her. Which, again, I don't know when that happened, but apparently that happened at some point. So now we are moving on to Chapter 7. Oh boy. And I won't deny it, this was always the chapter that always, confused me. And not in, the bad way. They did a very good job of, even first-time players, explaining things to them and everything. But there was one thing I was very confused on, and now that I've played the other games, it makes 100% sense, so it's fine. But, when we get to it, I'll point it out, because, there was a moment where I was going, wait, what? Blood Drive Chapter 7. Determination. It's the end of the world as we know it, and I feel bad. Yes, the sounds of fire trucks and patrol cars echoed through the streets. The sky was dark, the air stale, and the many strong, cold gusts of wind bore mass amounts of dust and debris. I didn't envy the reporter her job, as she seemed mere moments from being blown off her feet, but to her credit she persevered. Behind her, there was a black shadow of an old man. I'm here reporting on what has been dubbed the nationwide ghost disaster site, which local representatives claim is now in effect as of last night. This string of unexpected and potentially unexplainable deaths that have been plaguing the city presently shows no signs of letting up. Oh my god, it's everywhere. It's spreading. Suspicious and sudden demises, homicides with unknown motives, and reports of paranormal visitations are all increasing at an alarming rate. Much like my ex-husband, who keeps asking for unreasonable things. I left you for a reason! The police forces in each prefecture are still weighing their options for dealing with the issue. Yeah, what are they gonna do? And few have made any official statements thus far, frustratingly. What are they supposed to do, lady? The old Machado in the background began acting strangely, jumping in place and making various other aimless motions. Oh, yeah, this is really fucked up. The Metropolitan Police, meanwhile, have suggested that all locals travel to safe locations in groups of 3 or more as soon as possible, remaining indoors until further notice. The sudden devastating appearance of the black pillars throughout Japan last night has also led the MLIT to declare a state of emergency, setting up disaster shelters and lookouts. Official word from local bureaus on how these pillars are affecting traffic, the status of the damage to the rivers, as well as any countermeasures being taken can be seen here. Oh, wow. Experts have analyzed the pillars' composition and concluded they are made of a previously unknown material. they've tossed around names like spirit matter and entity wall. Due to their rapid growth and the complete inability of even seismographs to predict where they may spawn, the number of casualties is quite high, and global tensions are even higher. Everything up to and including industrial cutters and blades have been employed in an attempt to cut through these objects with absolutely no effect. The Ministry of Defense is using the JSDF data to explore the strong possibility that these pillars are related in some way to the aerial sphere that hovered in the skies only days ago. I have a list of newly appointed shelters. So if you live in one of the designated areas, please take note of the information on your screen. Unlike my ex-wife, who does not pay attention to anything I say or do. Shut up, Jerry. This information is also available on our website and through our mobile app. But do note that any gymnasiums and schools shown in white are full, so you'll need to look elsewhere. We strongly recommend that you proceed to the nearest open facility as soon as possible. Janet, I'm sorry for everything I have done. Oh my God! Oh my God! I made the joke! I made the joke and I didn't know he was gonna collapse! But if these things can sprout up anywhere without warning and give you no time to escape, evacuation is meaningless. There's not a damn thing anybody can do to stay safe! Janet! Janet, do you hear me? Whether you die or not is just dumb luck. When the hell are the police going to get off their asses and make a statement? Much like my ex-wife, who keeps making statements at me! Shut up, Jerry! Are they scared of public outcry? Are they hiding something? The middle-aged announcer was yelling at the top of his lungs in an absolute frenzy. He kicked his studio desk to the ground. A black shadow of a woman could be seen behind him. Ironically, not his ex-wife. Wait, hold on, voice. Who was... Morishige. Class rep. Shinozaki. Ayumi. Shinozaki! Huh? Oh, this is probably bad. Thank you for bringing us back to life. You mean I did it? But a whole lot of people have died now. The room grew dark, and each of the four figures who stood before me slowly melted into blackness, becoming indistinct silhouettes. Even Mochida, Nakashima, and Kishinuma have died. So many people gone. What's this? Even we haven't actually been revived, huh? What was it you were trying to do again, Ayumi? No! No! I screamed and looked up. It was just a dream. I was at home watching TV. I scrunched myself up again, putting my face to my knees. Bring them back, bring them back. I was like a broken record with that, but it was a doomed idea from the start. Everything I've done has been pointless, so what do I do now? I thought I could revive them. I really did. I mean, if I can come back from Yoshie's house despite these injuries and losing my sister, then anybody should have been able to come back. I mean, I don't know where you get that logic. Then again, she is obviously very desperate, and her mental state is like. Here's the thing: is that I don't think we talked enough about the fact that her mental state, ever since the Shinozaki estate, has been rapidly deteriorating, and people have tried to help her, but she didn't let them. Like Kishinuma tried multiple times to stop her from doing something stupid, but in the end he couldn't, so he decided to go along with her, and it got him killed. I I raised my face to my knees, eyes red and burning. Then, as if I hadn't already had enough tragedy in my life, I heard a loud crash just outside my house. It was unmistakably a car wreck, and a rather severe one at that. The car's alarm was going off, but I was trying my best to ignore it. I didn't need this right now, so I simply wasn't going to bother with it. Sis? What do I do, sis? Sis? Up next, we've learned that the CEO of PL Promotions, Co. Inc., is among those who have gone missing. Yeah, Aiko Niwa. Oh, I'm playing. Need to get to the front door. Car alarm outside was still going off. It was getting harder and harder to ignore by the second. What? Who's... What was ringing the doorbell was really persistent. The irregular sound brought me back to reality. I crept over to the peephole and silently looked through to see who'd be visiting me at this hour. On the other side of the door stood a man I didn't recognize. He had short hair and was pressing the chime frantically as if his life depended on it. Who is that? I was kind of creeped out. I really shouldn't open the door. I moved away from the peephole. The persistent ringing continued for a bit, but then, finally, thankfully, came to a halt. Slowly crept back to the peephole and took another look. The man was still there. He was just pacing back and forth in front of a house that, for all he knew, had no occupants. Oh my god! After another short while, he approached the door again and immediately put his eye right up to the outside of the peephole. Yeah, but you can't see in through those. If I move now, he'd totally know I'm here. The man moved his head away, but quickly replaced it with his finger. He then swirled it around and around inside the tight space as if trying to reach my eye or poke it out. Then, he stepped away from the door. I could have taken this opportunity to slowly move away from the peephole, but I was oddly transfixed. Thank God. Now all he has to do is leave. Of course, the second I thought that, he came back to the door yet again. Yet again, he skipped the doorbell and went straight to the peephole. What does he want? Why isn't he saying anything? This is really creeping me out. Well, fine then. I'll just open the door and give him a piece of my mind. No! Ayumi, no! I grabbed the doorknob and was moments away from following through with that plan when suddenly... Ayumi? Hachiko? Don't open it. What? He's dead. Sachiko? I slowly turned to look at her. The Nirvana is the world of the dead. And that world is coming here. Then there was an oddly familiar sound. Another car accident right outside my door. This time, I looked outside through the peephole and saw the man from earlier, sandwiched between a car and the wall of one of the houses across the street. He was absolutely mangled. After only a few moments, the man's corpse disappeared, leaving nothing but a shadow in its place on the wall and ground alike, a black stain. God, imagine, like, being in that world as that's happening. What is this? What's happening to the world? Not that I even really had to ask. Is this from breaking down the walls of the Nirvana? I wasn't just asking myself, I was asking Sachiko, whose presence still remained just behind my back. Here's the thing, guys. I didn't know why she was being possessed by Sachiko when I first played this, but unlike all the times we saw Sachiko in the original games, this is, while she's wearing the red dress and everything, from her, evil appearance, this is Sachiko who has been freed from the Nirvana. She's not crazy or homicidal or evil anymore. And, it was really weird for me to actually play the first few games, knowing how, knowing that she was, the villain and everything. When, before that, I had only seen her like this. Sad and depressed and lonely. I mean, it's why every time she, pretended that she was, sad and depressed and lonely in the other games, that I genuinely felt for her. Despite knowing it was all an act, I knew that somewhere deep down, she did feel bad about everything she was doing. But she had no control over it. The Nirvana, or Heavenly Host, whatever you want to call it, basically overrode everything that was her and made her a malevolent spirit. She just looked up at me with sad eyes. Well, she's floating. She's above you. That person just now was one of the deceased. And if he turned into a black stain, then... No, it couldn't be. I pulled my smartphone from my pocket. I forced myself to remain calm enough to access the photo, then just stopped and stared. God, no! The photo display of my phone, which is now on the floor. No longer had just my friends from before with blacked out faces, but Mochida, Nakashima, Kishinuma, and Kishinuma as well. They're all gone. Pounded the floor with both hands and shuddered violently. Cult leader, thou shalt repent! Oh! The end of the world is nigh! Oh! God shall not forgive those who art unclean and indiscreet! Oh! Some cultist group was speaking on TV. Guess the news must have ended at some point and I wasn't paying attention. The end of the world, huh? This time, I was just plain talking to myself. You're alive?! Thank God! Kind of. That's right. The end. Who'd ever thought that the last remaining Yoguro could have enough suicide bomber determination to dream up something like this? Ogari appeared in my hallway. I had no idea how long she'd been there or how she'd gotten in. I know she still had her heels on, though. It's you. I stood up, and Sachiko was, as always, waiting in the wings behind me. One thing I will say is that, this gives me, an oddly interesting idea. Imagine a story where, you yourself do not, are not, super powerful and everything, but you have, the spirit of someone, protecting you from ghosts and things as you play the game. That would be a really cool idea. I came back with the Ever After stones. Used them in mid-air when I was falling down the bell tower. Heavenly Host is totally destroyed, though, so these are just plain ordinary stones now. Demonstrate. Ogari snapped the two together. Nirvana, I summon the dead. See? Probably flinched, but she was right, nothing happened. Within the next few hours, the world will be totally blanketed in chaos. It's gonna be a new land of the dead. Sucks, huh? This is seriously the cataclysm. And to top it off, that's my order on TV there. Fucking shameless, aren't they? Even I've got to draw the line at that point. She pulled back her chin and flashed me a strained smile. Oh yeah, your parents went crazy and joined, just so you know. It couldn't have been much worse for me. Are you okay leaving things like this, then? Magari wasn't mincing words, it seemed. I held my head in both hands and looked down at the ground. If you feel responsible, come with me for a bit. I have something to discuss with you about your bloodline. Magari approached me and grabbed my arm. Hachiko, still right behind me, began to growl like a guard dog. Get your hands off me! I can't even save my friends! I can't do anything! I don't know what the hell difference the blood of the Shinozaki is supposed to make, but I'm just Ayumi! And Ayumi's worthless! Besides, the person who first introduced the Nirvana to this world was Yoshie, not me! I screamed as loudly and as fiercely as I could. I didn't do anything wrong! I closed my eyes and cried the hardest I've ever cried, sobbing so intensely that I found myself nearly hyperventilating. Magari slapped me down to the ground. You're one stubborn bitch, you know that? Got a hell of an ego, too. For once in your life, just suck it up! I held my chin and continued sobbing. Magari was looking down at me with contempt in her eyes, but also a certain intensity that was more akin to desperation than anything. Yeah. Ayumi Shinozaki, here's one fact you should know. Once the seventh pillar, the Sephiroth of knowledge, starts up, it's all over. The end of the world is carved in stone. However... Magari closed it on me as if our lips were about to touch. Oh, kind of hot. Hachiko growled again, but Magari was clearly not intimidated in the slightest. The Book of Shadows isn't gone yet. What? You came in contact with the original book, so since you draw the blood of the Shinozaki, you may yet be able to fight Mizuto. I was still hesitating, and Magari apparently didn't much like that. God, just come the fuck on! Suddenly, your growling was pulling at the top of my uniform. My plump white stomach was now fully exposed. I wouldn't say plump. She's Ayumi's very petite. The piece of shit book is right here. She pointed to the spot just below my belly button. What? As she did so, my stomach started growling with an unearthly roar and shifted in place slightly. It was almost like there was a snake slithering around inside of me. Sure would have been nice if you'd have noticed that sooner. That thing's been sleeping inside you since you first used its power in the basement of Yoshie Shinozaki's estate. Magari crossed her arms and snorted. Of course, it's only a container. Nothing's in it right now. Growling like a cocky bastard. The growl that came from within my own body sounded like that of a wild beast. There's no way. Is this for real? I was actually tricked pretty good. Originally, the others sent me to support you in your efforts to obtain the Book of Shadows from that other realm. among other things. Okay. But of course, that still means I was planning on stealing it from you as soon as you got your hands on it. Now, though, it doesn't matter. If the world's going to pot, there's not really any meaning in becoming the heir to the Martubas anymore, is there? And that just fucking sucks. Huh? It all goes back to Mizuto. Mizuto! If that little fucker thinks he's won the war, he's got another thing coming. Don't you just want to slaughter him like a pig right now? You should stop being such a pussy and look at all the things you're capable of. There'll be enough time to abandon all your potential after you're dead. My eyes began to well up again. Are you saying there's still something I can do? Gary's expression turned deadly serious. Do whatever you can to bring the Book of Shadows out of your body and gain control over it. If the book recognizes your determination, it should extract itself naturally. And if you have the power of the book at your disposal, it'll lead the way right back into Mizuto's nirvana. I can only stare incredulously at my abdomen. The guard took this opportunity to open the front door, again to illustrate her point. Outside, the weather was still completely anomalous, with hurricane-like winds and debris clouds everywhere. Clouds up above, too, were moving abnormally fast through a disconcerting blood-red sky. Ah! Every few seconds, a sound, not unlike a spark plug firing, could be heard echoing from the distance as another black flame ignited and burned itself out in a random spot. I mean, you're going to lie down and die with this world either way, so what have you got to lose? Show me how tough you are. Well, you've still got the chance. Just remember, the book was born from black magic. It adores cruelty and blood. With those parting words, Bagari disappeared into the city, sounds of her heels clacking softer and softer until they were no longer audible at all. Tachiyako and I could do nothing but see her off. The entire nation was now plagued with entity walls and black silhouette like spirits of the dead. Way! The entity wall was rapidly destroying schools, downtown bypasses, and other crucial traffic corners. A school's a crucial traffic corner? Weird way to put that. And even rescue shelters, creating countless new casualties by the minute. People were running in the streets, panicked and confused, and almost certainly not much longer for this earth. Where are we supposed to go? It doesn't matter, just run or you'll get crushed! What about overseas? How are we going to get there with the sky and ocean all screwed up? Meanwhile, in Miss Kuon's office, the black-suited agents watched in horror as each TV monitor displayed a feed from different news networks across the world. The story was exactly the same on all of them. Boss, what are we supposed to do? How's the book supposed to recognize my determination? What the hell am I supposed to do? I do think it's interesting that Magari was the one who came and tried to slap some sense into her. Then again, she is the only one left who can. No reason for me to go upstairs right now, isn't there? Well, this is her sister's room. Sis, give me strength. Oh! In front of the mirrored dresser sat Hinoue's Zodiac dagger. I gripped it in terror, closed my eyes, and started shaking. Do whatever you can to bring that Book of Shadows out of your body and gain control over it. Just remember, the book was born from black magic. It adores cruelty and blood. Couldn't back down now. I lifted the dagger in front of me, poised to plunge into my body and carve myself open, as samurai once did in the realistic suicide called seppuku. But I couldn't go through with it. I was too scared of death, too scared of the pain. I can't! I can't! The face that reflected back at me in the mirror was twisted with fear. I didn't even recognize myself. But I could see in those eyes all the weight that had been put on my shoulders, all the responsibility I had been forced to bear. I'm a coward. I'm small and weak. The world doesn't need me. I won't be missed. But I can make a difference. Here and now. With my mind made up, I lifted the dagger again, only to bring it halfway to its destination before halting its descent once more. No matter how determined I was, no matter how strong my conviction, this was literal suicide. I knew what had to be done, but knowing and accepting are two different things. Very true. I mean, like, imagine saying, for the sake of the world, you have to gut yourself. I mean, like, dear God, that's just horrific. I began crying like a baby. This is the most afraid I'd ever been in my entire life. I mean, it makes sense. And almost certainly the most afraid I ever would be. At this point, the only way I'd be able to go through with it was to clear my mind and let my arms make the motion automatically. Before I knew it, that's exactly what I did. Oh, fuck! It's most likely because I wasn't thinking about it, or anything else for that matter. That dagger found absolutely no resistance. It was like applying excess force to a slice of cake. And for a very brief moment, I felt nothing. Then the convulsions started, first on my abdomen, and quickly spread up to the rest of my body. Yeah, see, that's what happens when you first get stabbed. There's a moment of shock in your body, and adrenaline starts pumping through you. It dulls the pain for like a second, and then it hits you all at once. Like, I know, because while I haven't been stabbed necessarily, I did once, like, step on a nail, and it went, like, clear into my foot. It was painful, but that's the thing, is, like, you step, and then there's this moment of, like, something's wrong, and then all of a sudden it's like, ah! So, yeah. My abdomen was now spasming and constricting involuntarily. And the rest of me wasn't faring much better. My entire body was in total chaos. Ah! The extent of the agony I had felt at that moment was absolutely impossible to convey. It was all-encompassing. I was utterly incapable of focusing on anything else. My lower body was spewing bright red blood, thick black blood, and an unknown yellow substance, all of which were blending together into a slurry that was, at its core, my life essence. Yep. So went far beyond anything I could have imagined. The sheer shock of it rendered my mind a jumble that I simply could not untangle. And the thing is, it seems like she probably stabbed herself and then pulled the knife back out. That's the thing. When you get stabbed, if you leave it in, it actually does help stop the bleeding. Because, quite literally, there's no hole that, like, you know, stuff can pour out of. But, yeah, oh my god, so painful. I knew there was a reason I'd done this to myself. Something I absolutely had to do, and it was crucial. But regaining enough cognitive function to do it would be a challenge. I can't do this. To cut across yet and remove the book, there's no way! Yeah, she talked about seppuku, because, yeah, when the samurai would, commit seppuku, which was to preserve their own honor, they would stab into their abdomen, and then, like, draw the blade across their abdomen so that, like, their guts would start to spill out, and in that moment, they had what was called a second, who was someone who mercifully would cut their head off with a sword, typically their own sword sometimes, so that their honor would be preserved. It basically the fact of them, like, basically you stab yourself, possibility to survive, right? Draw and quartering yourself, like tearing the blade through you so that your guts are coming out, especially in ancient times, like the times of the samurai and everything. There was no surviving that. Like, there was no way you're living through that. So basically, you committed to dying, but your second would make it so that you wouldn't suffer when it happened. My head was swimming as I tried, beyond all reasonable measure, to hang on to consciousness just long enough to complete the task at hand. I could still see my face in the mirror, but only just, as the blood that had been spurting from my abdomen had largely glazed it over. It was a truly frightful sight, compared to, if not more disturbing than anything I'd seen in Heavenly Host. I can't do it! I felt feeble, helpless, and the face in the mirror was smiling at me for it, darkly, obscenely. You can't do it. Jet black crows flew by outside the window. And in that moment, a fire sparked within me. Feeling oddly resolute, I gripped the dagger jutting out of my abdomen. And yanked it to the side with every last bit of strength I had left in me. Spray of blood gushed out of me. The spray of blood gushing out of me became almost exponentially more violent. Most surprisingly, it seemed like equal amounts of blood were rushing to my brain as well, and the effect was a feeling like the blood vessels in my head were on the verge of bursting. Holy shit, the book! Just as I felt like I was moments from my final blackout, I saw something. There among my own entrails on the ground was a blood-drenched tome. This... It was the Book of Shadows, without question. See, this was the thing that I never understood in the original game. In the original game, I never not in the original game, sorry. When in my original playthrough, this was the thing I didn't understand. I was like, why did, gutting herself bring out the Book of Shadows? I know that, Magari said, it adores cruelty and blood, but the thing is, I was like, but still, how does that work? And now playing the other games, I finally get it. The book itself, it basically has, the blood of the Shinozaki in it. Therefore, it makes sense it would be in her blood, especially since she was the last one to use it. Basically, I kept wondering, how the fuck did it get into her body? Because it supposedly burned in the house when the house came down. But what it is that when she used the book became a part of her, whether she wanted it to or not. Which is why, I think, she was so driven to, find it and complete it. Yeah, there was also the, wanting to bring her friends back. I'm not going to deny that. But I think that subconsciously there was something with that book wanting to be free again. That, attributed to it. My vision blurred from the insane loss of blood and even more intense pain. I fell forward, unable to maintain any semblance of balance any longer. And I landed right on it, with a loud, warm, and unpleasant splash, my face planted firmly into the book, which was steaming under the odd temperature differences of my viscera. I awoke with a start. I was still in Hinoe's room. Instinctively and frantically, I looked down at my abdomen. There I saw a scar resembling the ones I'd almost died from during the blowback of Yoshie Shinozaki's house, runic letterings and all. But that was it. The bleeding had stopped. In fact, there was no blood anywhere in the room. And on the floor in front of me sat the Book of Shadows. Not a copy, but the original. This is... I slowly touched it. And from behind me, Sachiko spoke. The book has acknowledged you as its owner. She was staring at me with a docile, almost reverent look in her eyes. I mean, what's terrifying and yet amazing is that, you know, Sachiko had enough spiritual power in her to absorb an entire nirvana. But she wasn't acknowledged by the Book of Shadows. That shows that Ayumi has more potential than her, which is terrifying. I picked up the book and looked at it, fear and awe running through my now clear head. It grumbled a bit, darting its eyes back and forth. Eventually, it seemed to settle on a specific direction, locking its gaze. It seemed to be looking out the window. What is that? Most likely the entrance to the Nirvana. Wait, Kisaragi Academy is in that direction. I mean, that is where Heavenly Host originally was. Dad, Mom, thank goodness I was worried sick about... The world has ended. The world has ended. Dad? Mom? Oh, I can move. Oh, okay. I was like, what's going on? Oh, yeah, they're, Dad and Mom both just repeated the same lines over and over like a broken tape recorder. Dad. Mom. Well. Time to go. I'll be back for you. I swear. Whoa! I didn't know that there was a second opening! Wow. Well, isn't this interesting? Oh, I don't like that. I don't like that they're disappearing. No! Best boy, no! I love how she's just floating behind her. Sachiko, I can't believe I'm saying this, but having you on my side is kind of reassuring. How'd you go look at me with sweet, innocent eyes? I'm not gonna deny it. Yeah, I feel kind of the same way here. When I arrived at Kisaragi Academy, I got a much better look at the phenomenon. It was like a whirlpool with a red, dully shining hole at its center. Was this the entrance to the ever after? Beyond that is the nirvana. Kinetic magic? Like how witches fly? No way. I closed my eyes, clasped the Book of Shadows tightly in both hands and prayed. Book of Shadows, lend me your strength. When I opened my eyes, looked up at the sky, my body began to float. I was in control of the Book of Shadows. I was a legitimate practicer of magic now. Wow, that's kind of cool. The moment felt almost like an awakening to endless new possibilities. I'm actually flying? Wow! And right next to me, flying by my side, was Sachiko. Of course she was. Oh, Ayumi? Huh? Ah! The momentary loss of focus dropped me out of my trance, and I immediately began falling. I gripped the book even tighter and concentrated harder than before, and sure enough, I began rising up toward the vortex once more. Be careful, Ayumi. It's the book that's allowing you to use those powers. You mustn't let go of it. Understood. Just like a death grip on the book, like, I don't gonna go anywhere. Oh, so that's where that picture originally came from. Okay. As I flew higher, I could see Magari sitting on the roof of the school. Looks like you managed to gain control over the Book of Shadows after all. I underestimated you, Ayumi Shinozaki. You even installed an escalator from Kisaragi Academy right to the Nirvana. Not too shabby. There is one thing you should probably know, though. The Nirvana's encroachment upon and direct connection to this world isn't really your fault at all. The very moment the heavenly host Nirvana first appeared in this world? No, even farther back. At the moment when the Book of Shadows was first created, the coming of this apocalypse was basically an eventuality. I looked into Magari's face. She was being completely sincere. The former owners of that book, including Yoshie Shinozaki, all tried desperately to stop it, or at least slow it down. And when they learned they couldn't, they left that fate to the next generation instead. That's why the book continued to be handed down through the ages. I see. What that means is, all this would have happened anyway, with or without you. Save for one thing. Your actions resulted in the power of the Nirvana being handed over to Mizuto, the surviving member of that fucked up Yogura cult. And you do need to take responsibility for that. Responsibility? You have the real Book of Shadows. But all the power of the Nirvana, broken up and distributed throughout Heavenly Host, has been absorbed by Mizuto's fake book. If you want to get it back and seal it in that one, though, you can easily outclass him. And if you go one step further, taking in the Nirvana's core, then that book will be complete. Now's the time to strike. Go in there and fuck him up. Before the world ends, let him see what real power tastes like. I'll be watching. Magari grew smaller as I climbed higher and higher. As I looked up, I could see the threshold looming ever larger, poised as if to wrap itself around me. Ayumi? Are you scared? Are you scared of dying? I don't know. Am I? I smiled at her. To my surprise, it was a genuine smile. Somehow or another, I was feeling very calm. Sachiko looked at me with wide eyes. What's wrong? She turned away briefly, then looked over at me once more. It's almost like in that brief moment, she changed expressions, in much the way someone would change a suit. Ayumi, what you should be scared of is Sachi, and the person in the Nirvana's core. Don't let your guard down. The person in the Nirvana's core? It isn't Mizuto? There's someone else. I looked back up to find myself practically right on top of the hole in the sky that stood in front of the abnormally huge red moon. Oh! And with my conviction settled, I jumped in. The harsh flash, the nausea, and the retching tightness in my chest caused me to lose consciousness for a second. But then I awoke to find that heaven and earth had switched places. It looked as though I was falling headfirst into a massive storm with flashing lightning and roaring thunder. It almost seemed like I was previewing what the world would look like after its destruction. And in the sky, there was an enormous face of a doll, and the walls around me were made of flesh. I clenched the Book of Shadows with both hands as I slowly made my landing into this new version of the Nirvana. It was a mountain of rubble. What is this? Everything's broken to bits. Ah! Oh, God! Ow! What the hell? Ayumi, are you okay? Yeah, I can handle this much at least. I slowly, carefully found my footing and pulled myself back up to my feet. This was an entirely different heavenly host. It bore almost no resemblance whatsoever to any version of the school we'd traversed previously. Heavenly Host Elementary? Turned into this? Where are the others? Mochida? Nakashima? Kishinuma? Miss Kuon? Aiko? Well, you saw Aiko get her head bit off, and I'm sorry, but, like, I mean, I still don't like that, but still, I mean, like, you know what happened to her. I called out to my friends, but received no answer. All I could hear was the rumbling and twisting of the air around me. Oh my God, I found them! They're right behind me. Oh no. Oh no. Oh, wow. Crushed by a piece of the school. Oh. There was no mistaking it. In the midst of the wreckage, pieces of clothing from Kishinuma, Mochida, Nakashima, Miss Kuon, and Aiko were clearly visible. And the unfortunate souls who were wearing those clothes were all buried underneath fallen beams and other debris, surrounded by a veritable sea of blood. I knelt down and began sobbing uncontrollably. You guys! Mizuto! Show yourself! What you've done is unforgivable! Achiko stared at me as I continued to scream and cry. Ayumi? What is it, Sachiko? I'll see what I can do. I can try to restore Heavenly Host's destiny, at least some small part of it. What? Hachiko produced a calavera necklace from her pocket. The skeletal figure on the chain made a slight hollow clinking at the sound as it was handled, very much as actual bone would. It looked handmade and seemed oddly warm, like a keepsake. What is that? I had this weird feeling that I'd seen this object somewhere before. I swear this looks familiar, but from where? Though she was looking down at the ground a bit, slightly guilty and slightly guarded, Sachiko giggled slightly. This is my treasure. A big smile crept across her lips, and for a moment she looked every bit the part of an ordinary little girl. Huh? I was confused. Sachiko placed her hand on top of the Book of Shadows. Fact loop. And the book spoke. Repeat the same day. Followed by Sachiko. Oh! Suddenly I was in Yoshie Shinozaki's clinic. The very same clinic Nakashima and I had visited on that fateful day. This person is Yoshie. I was viewing Sachiko's memory of an event from long ago. Yoshie was writing something in her journal. I've analyzed the algorithms and determined all the spells written in the book are nothing more than theories. Not one of them has ever been properly tested. There are no success rates. There's no data of any kind. So why was I naive enough to attempt something so foolish? I devoted everything I have, my blood, my soul, to an end that was destined never to succeed in the first place. And now the spells failed and Nirvana has escaped from the book. I created a whole other dimension. Worst of all the deceased who become trapped in that dimension are erased from the existence of our world. Sachiko came into the room from the back. Her eyes met Yoshie's and she smiled. However, since I was able to suppress the stray Nirvana... Sachiko stood obediently by her mother, wearing the white dress we'd seen on her in Heavenly Host. Yoshie patted her head approvingly. Sachiko then coughed out a fine black mist, but sucked it up back into her mouth like a carp. I could at least rescue one person's existence from that shadowy, forgotten fate. The face of the image was blacked out like those of Seiko and the others. However, to my surprise, the black marking was slowly peeling away, revealing the features underneath. My vision slowly cleared, and when it did, amidst all the rumbling and shaking, I found myself back in Heavenly Host Elementary, the way it was! Oh, no, bad! Then promptly, Sachiko collapsed to the ground. Sachiko! Without thinking, I picked her up and held her limp, light body in my arms. She must have used up her spirit energy, as she was clearly drained. She was breathing, only very lightly. Poor girl seems to be in pain. Wait, am I actually holding Sachiko? Sachiko was real. She had to have been, or I wouldn't have been able to hold on to her like this. She seemed injured, but not in any traditional manner. There were cracks running through her body, each one emanating an unearthly blue, almost a gaseous light. Meanwhile, the school itself was also cracking and breaking around me, making an incredible noise. The roof above began to crumble away, providing glimpses of the real world. And incredibly, the ends of the walls hadn't spawned there yet. We're back! This is before everyone died! Sachiko, hang in there! Ayumi, I'm sorry. I couldn't revert more time. No, Sachiko, thank you. That was amazing. You did great. I can hardly believe it. I just complimented Sachiko, of all people, on a job well done. You're praising me? Her newly formed physical body was rapidly beginning to evaporate into mist. Yeah. My voice was trembling, though I suspect it was less with fear and more with confusion. Yes! That was incredible. You're a good girl, Sachiko. She looked up into the sky, eyes beginning to well with tears. She was struggling to speak. Soon she wouldn't be able to at all. I wanted to apologize. What? She barely had any voice left, but was persevering nonetheless. This was clearly something she didn't want to leave unsaid, no matter what. I know you can never forgive me, but I wanted to apologize anyway. And with that, she began full-on crying. Sachiko! I couldn't help doing the same. I killed a lot of people. I'm not a good girl. You shouldn't praise someone like me. The tears were streaming down my face now. Sachiko's voice was so mournful, so genuine. Yeah. I mean, like, for a little girl, she was what, like 7 or 8 years old? And I mean, like, basically she was corrupted by the Nirvana, which, you know, we know that, like, you know, the Book of Shadows was originally inside, the Nirvana was originally inside the Book of Shadows, and it adores cruelty and blood, so it took her over. But there must have been a part of her that just hated it, and hated herself for it. But you just saved a lot of people now, too, so thank you. A massive earthquake shook the ground. Sachiko looked scared, so I patted her head and hugged her tightly. She then looked at me squarely in the eye, gripping her calavera necklace tightly in her hand as if it were a rosary. It's strange, isn't it? What is? Once you know you did right, passing on isn't so scary anymore. Sachiko. Sachiko and the blue light alike both disappeared completely. She was gone. She did her best to make up for all the pain that she caused. She really was a pure-hearted soul who just got corrupted by the evil of this place. The being I was hugging just moments ago no longer existed. All I could do was clench my fists and mourn. The look on Sachiko's face when she asked if I was scared of dying kept flashing through my head. Sachiko, you were the one who was scared, weren't you? Kept my head hung low for a moment and stood up and wiped the tears from my eyes. Accompanying the sound of the rumbling, one single entity wall now stood in the real world. The cycle was beginning anew. Watch over me, Sachiko. One Shinozaki to another. Praise. Good girl. Unfair. Sachiko. Yeah, that's not good. Chapter 7 is completed. Holy shit. Oh, man. Oh, this episode may run a little long, but, yeah, it was worth getting through all of it in this one episode. So, thank you, everybody, so much for watching. I appreciate you being here with me. I know that some people, like, really don't like this game because it retcons a bunch of stuff. I mean, like, you know, Yuki was supposed to be, like, the new, like, you know, like, center of the Nirvana, but that never happened. It became Sachi, which, you know, I've already talked about how I still think that it should have been Yuki that got taken over, and we didn't need, like, you know, Sachi at all. I think that would have been better. But I did like the little bit of redemption that Sachiko got for all of it. And that's why, like, because I played this first, the other games were so interesting to me. Like, knowing that deep down she actually felt bad about everything she did, it put things into perspective for me. And, oh boy, God, like, it hurts way more now than it did back then. But either way, thank you everybody so much for watching. I appreciate you being here with me. Next time, we're going into Chapter 8, and we have, thanks to Sachiko's sacrifice, we have officially gone back in time, and we are gonna, hopefully, you know, save the day this time, and not let Mizuto get what he wants. So, yes! Now, something important to keep in mind, all of the events that happened up until this point still happened. Like, you know, like, everything we've seen up until, like, you know, Ayumi arrives at the tower and everything. I mean, like, the first Sephiroth is there, so obviously Mizuto has the book and everything. But, I mean, like, Ayumi isn't there this time. Because, like, unlike, like, basically they reversed time. Ayumi didn't time travel. Time was reversed. Therefore, there are not two Ayumis, which I thought would have been funny. But, or maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm not remembering it right. But either way, we'll find out what's going to happen next time. So, thank you again, everybody. And, as always, if you enjoyed this as much as I did, you know what to do. Like, comment, subscribe it if you're not already. Ring that bell for all them notifications is. And, until next time, my friends, have yourselves a beautiful day. My beautiful, beautiful viewers. Hey there! If you enjoyed this video, why don't you consider subscribing to my Patreon so I can keep making awesome videos like the one you just saw. The link will be in the description below, and as always, have yourselves a beautiful, beautiful day.